Yes, sir. All right. Let's get into it, guys. It's that time again. It's time to get active. Right. Tonight, you see the title, you see the thumbnail, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about Project 2025. There's been a lot of fear mongering around this Project 2025. Oh, you can't, now is not the time to sit out. You've got to vote because if you don't vote, Donald Trump is going to get reelected. And they've got Project 2025. They've got a big plan. They're going to ruin America with Project 2025. There's been a lot of fear mongering with this Project 2025. I've heard a lot of it. I've heard a lot of people saying this buzzword, Project 2025, Project 2025. But I haven't really heard any specifics from Project 2025. People, when they bring up, especially in like CNN interviews and MSNBC, they'll talk about Project 2025, but they don't really explain what aspects of this project, this Republican agenda, should we most be concerned about? What is it that Donald Trump is promising or not promising to do if he gets reelected? Now, first and foremost, so tonight we're going to break down some of the aspects of Project 2025. And before we get into it, I got to go ahead and give a big salute and shout out to the guy Mitch Sledge. Mitch Sledge is one of my subscribers here. He gets active in the comment section all the time, and he's been asking me to break down this Project 2025 topic for a while now. So, Mitch, if you're watching, this one's for you, buddy. You've been asking me to break this down, so this one's for you. Now I got this meme that has been going around social media. I see it on IG, I see it on Twitter, formerly Twitter, now X. And it has some of the buzzwords, some of the most notable highlights of Project 2025. Mind you, Donald Trump has not endorsed Project 2025. This is a Republican think tank agenda. But Donald Trump has not said that if elected, he would be in support of all or any of this agenda. This is a Republican agenda, but Donald Trump has not endorsed it or promised to back and implement the items that we're going to list here tonight. So I have to say that as a disclaimer. But let's go ahead and get into it. So this is the meme that I've been seeing go around. It's been going viral. A lot of people have seen this meme on their Instagrams and on the Twitter timelines in these Twitter streets. And tonight we're just going to break down point by point, and it's going to be a little bit of a longer one. We might have to break this into two parts because there's a lot of stuff on this list. But we're going to go by point, and I'm just going to kind of give you my first impression. I'm going to give you my first impression, my initial thoughts when I see these items as something that might affect me as a young black male voter. And the reason I got to be specific is some people might have real legitimate concerns about some of the items on this list. But my demographic, I'm young, man, I'm already physically fit, I've already finished school, I've got, right now, I'm a family man, right? I'm a young black and I'm male. So I say that for obvious reasons. We're going to get into it. Number one is it says it's in no fault divorce. Now, the Republicans right now are going strong supporting the family values, the Christian right. Right now, the Republicans are cloaking themselves in the Christian right agenda. So when they say in no fault divorce, that is going to be a big draw for Christian conservatives. Right now, the divorce rate is astronomical in America. It's over 50% divorce rate in America today. We know that in the black community, 80% of the time it's the female filing for divorce. In other communities, it's north of 75% females filing for divorce. So this in no fault divorce, that's going to be a big draw to males, specifically Christian males, but males. Me myself, in no fault divorce, that's something I would support. As a male, first thing on the list, in no fault divorce, that's supposed to be scary, but as a male, I'm going out here trying to raise a family. I've got to sign a contract with the state called a marriage license. I've got to sign this contract and enter into a deal with the state and with a woman who, statistically speaking, is more likely to file for divorce than I am. In no fault divorce, that doesn't sound half bad to a young black male. That's me as a young black male demographic. In no fault divorce doesn't sound half bad. Because right now in 2024 and beyond, we know that some folks are being incentivized to file for divorce despite the fact that there has been no quote unquote cause. It's not that the man is beating up on you or bringing you any diseases or embarrassing you or anything of that nature. Just no fault. I'm unhappy. I've outgrown you. We just don't get along. Okay, well, you signed a contract that says until death do us part, but I don't want to live by that contract. And no fault divorce, okay, that doesn't scare me. That's not going to motivate me to vote against Project 2025. Let's go on to the next list. Next item, complete ban on abortions without exceptions. I don't think that that's realistic. I know for a fact Trump is not supporting that. We just witnessed the presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, where he was saying the Supreme Court, the Republican or conservative Supreme Court that Donald Trump has largely stacked, has just ruled that the abortion pills specifically are not illegal. Donald Trump said that he supports that. He supports the Supreme Court ruling. In the debates, he said he supports that ruling. He says that the issues concerning abortion should be left to the states. Now, if it's left to the states, I know for a fact that every state is not going to ban abortion without exception. You're telling me that the state of California is going to ban abortion without exception? I doubt it. So when I see things like this, and we're just at point two here, but when I hear things like this and see things like this running around social media, people saying, hey, you got to vote against Project 2025. But when I look at the list, I'm like, some of these things I don't disagree with, and some of these things are just unrealistic. I know this list has to be hyperbolic. This has to be a left wing think tank that put this list out. Because to say that there's going to be a complete abortion ban without exception after the president, the Republican president nominee or a candidate, the front running candidate, is saying he would not support abortion without exception. He himself is on record saying he supports abortion with the three exceptions, a ban on abortion with the three exceptions: situations of grape, situation or SA, I should say, situations of SA, situation of health to the mother, and life of the baby, health and life of the mother, right? And so I would support that as well. So this second point, complete ban on abortion without exceptions, I don't think that's realistic. There's no way every state, if Donald Trump and the Republicans are saying the abortion situation should be left to the states, there's no way that every state is going to outlaw abortion without exception. Impossible. I don't see California signing up for that. I just don't see it. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Ban contraceptives. For the same reason I don't see a complete ban on abortion without exceptions, I don't see a complete ban on contraceptives either. That's going to be left to the states. That's going to be left to the states. There's no way that they codify a total ban on either of those points. Nationwide, no. Additional tax breaks for corporations in the 1%. Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Okay, Donald Trump's going to give tax breaks to the 1%. Yeah, that sounds about right. But listen, one thing about it, for me on both sides, when talking about taxes and things of that nature, some folks, like the liberals, say, oh, we've got to increase taxes on the rich, make them pay their fair share. if I'm not part of the 1%. So I'm much more concerned about where the funding is being spent. I'm not so concerned about the tax rate, who is being taxed. I'm worried about where that money is being spent. Right? So you talk about reducing corporations for tax breaks for the corporations. Donald Trump also says he's going to eliminate the income tax, eliminate federal income tax, the payroll tax. Now that's something that I can get behind as a small business owner and as a full time contractor. You eliminating the income tax, hey, that's something I can get behind. So additional tax breaks for corporations in the 1%. That wouldn't surprise me, but that doesn't scare me. I'm not going to go vote against someone getting a tax break. I think let's all get some tax breaks. Hey, higher taxes for the working class. Okay, yeah, you got to be more specific there. Elimination of unions and worker protections. Now, this is one I will give to the Democrats. Joe Biden has been more friendly to unions. So if you're a union worker, I would say that you're probably better off with the Democrats and under. Well, I would. I can't in good conscience encourage anyone to vote for Joe Biden based on only unions with all the madness that's going on in the world with Joe Biden's mental state being in obvious decline. I can't say vote for him just because you're a union worker. But what I will say is, generally speaking, the Democrats are more friendly towards unions. So that point is valid. So that point I'll mark as valid. Let's see what else. But to say elimination of unions, no. Union protections, okay, I can see that. I can see that. Raise the retirement age. Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that. What is the retirement age right now? Let me do a quick Google search. What is the retirement age in USA? All right, so the full retirement age is 66 if you were born in 1943 to 1954. The full retirement age increases gradually if you were born from 1955 to 1960 until it reaches 67. For anyone born 1960 or later, full retirement benefits are payable at age 67. They're talking. I've heard. I have heard and seen them some discussion of them raising that to what 70, 71, I believe. The argument there is lifespan is longer, so people are able to work more. I think that's ridiculous. So for that, and I can believe it. I can believe that that's something that they would do. I can believe that that's something that they would implement. The Republicans would implement if they were to get back in power. So that's something to be on the lookout for. Cut Social Security. Mm, possible. Cut Medicare. When they say cut, I'm thinking that they mean reduce Social Security spending, reduce Medicare, reduce people's access to it, reduce benefits. Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that. Now again, I'm voting my interests. Okay, and this is full disclosure. One thing about me, everyone in America has to vote their own conscience. If you ask me, I think we should all vote our conscience. We should vote for who we believe is going to benefit us, our families, our communities the most. So when I see cuts to Social Security, cuts to Medicare, that doesn't that doesn't directly speak to me. Okay, I am not a Medicare beneficiary, nor am I anywhere close to getting Social Security. So, so some people that might be motivated, and this is why I gave the disclaimer at the beginning of the video. I'm giving my thoughts here as a young, specifically a young black male. Okay, so when we go over these lists, some people might see this list and say, hey, I'm worried about cuts to Social Security. I might be reaching retirement age in the next 2 or 3 years. I get it. That's why we're going over this list. This is something that might motivate you to consider Project 2025 as something to keep your eye on, something to vote against. But when I see these things, this is my mentality. This is my thought process. Cuts to Social Security, cuts to Medicare. I don't support cuts to Social Security. I don't support cuts to Medicare. But as a young black voter, young black male voter, that doesn't motivate me. All right? Let's keep going here. In the Affordable Care Act, he said Donald Trump promised to do that in his first term. I don't believe he'll do it in his second term either, because he has nothing to replace it with. Donald Trump ran in 2016 when he was first elected, and he said he ran on the platform, hey, I'll replace the Affordable Care Act with something even better. That was his promise in 2016. He failed to deliver because when he started looking at the Affordable Care Act, he realized the protections therein by allowing first of all you to get coverage despite regardless of pre-existing illness, the extension of parents being able to keep their children on their health care plans until I believe the age of 24, 25. These were popular byproducts of the Affordable Care Act, and Donald Trump would have to find a replacement plan that is better. We know that Medicare for All is extremely popular and populist, but Donald Trump and the Republicans will not support Medicare for All. So this issue of ending the Affordable Care Act, they're going to fearmonger with that. Yeah, we're going to end the Affordable Care Act. I just don't see it as being realistic because they would have to find something to replace it with. You can't just remove the Affordable Care Act and have nothing in its place. So that's fear mongering. I don't see that getting passed, whether Donald Trump was elected or not. Raise prescription drug prices. Yeah, I can see that because the Republicans will want it to fall back to capitalism. They would stop negotiations, government negotiations of prices. So yeah, I could see that raising the price of prescription drug prices. I could see that. Eliminate the Department of Education. Now this is a big one. I see a lot of people discussing the elimination of the Department of Education. And let's do a little bit of research here. Let's do a little bit of research here. Because when I first saw that, the elimination of when I first saw the elimination of the Department of Education, the first thought in my mind was, so what exactly does the Department of Education do? That was the first thing I thought. So let's just take a moment and go to the Department of Education's website. Let's find out what they do and see how big of a threat this elimination of the Department of Education really is. So let's do a little bit of research here. We're going to do a little bit of reading. All right, y'all bear with me. Let me get it on screen so y'all can see clearly. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. All right, here we go. An overview of the U.S. Department of Education. What is the U.S. Department of Education? The U.S. Department of Education is the agency of the federal government that establishes policy for, administers, and coordinates most federal assistance to education. Talking about funds, dispersing funds. Student loan assistance, Department of Education. Each student, when you go to public school, is awarded a certain amount of money from the U.S. government. All right? And that's important for later. We're going to have to bring that up. Each student, each child who is enrolled in public school, for example, that public school receives funds from the federal government through the Department of Education based on how each school gets the money based on how many students they have. Each student is allotted a certain amount of money. And the Department of Education is the ones that disperses those funds. It assists the president in executing his education policies for the nation and implementing laws enacted by Congress. This is also important because they sort of set the direction, they set the tone of what our public school curriculums will look like. And that's very important. That's very important. In the 60s, who was it? Under, I want to say JFK. I know when the Russians let off Sputnik, then we were determined, because they went into the space first, we were determined to go to the moon first. So in schools, it was pushed. STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. STEM was pushed very heavily through the Department of Education in order to compete with Russia and their space exploration. Now today our public school curriculum is weak. It's weak and it's uncentered. Instead of focusing and investing in STEM, which should be the primary focus of school, science, technology, engineering, and math, we're teaching in our public schools, oh, if you're a boy, you can actually be a girl. So when the Republicans are saying we're going to the U.S. Department of Education should be eliminated because it's useless, it's feckless, right? This is the reasoning that they use. Now, let's read a little bit more before I give my personal thoughts here. The department's mission is to serve America's students, to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring equal access. So that's why they say it's de jure versus de facto. De jure, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring equal access. However, as of late, with programs like No Child Left Behind and these DEI agendas, some people believe that the Department of Education has gone awry. In 2007, 2008, the department's elementary and secondary school program served approximately 55 million students, pre-K through grade 12, attending some 100,000 public schools and 34,000 private schools. Department programs also provided grant, loan, and work-study assistance to about 10 million undergraduate students. When Congress created the department in 1979, it declared these purposes: to strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal education opportunity for every child. So this is access in the 79. So this was because a lot of folks in 79, this is just following, this is not even 20 years removed. This is barely 10 years removed from civil rights integration. So a lot of people at this time were being barred from receiving equal access to education. To supplement and complement the efforts of states, the local school systems, and other instrumentalities of the states, the private sector, public and private educational institutions, public and private nonprofit educational research institutions, community-based organizations, parents, students, to improve the quality of education, to encourage the increased involvement in the public, parents, and students in federal education programs, to promote improvements in the quality and usefulness of education through federally supported research, evaluation, and sharing of information, to improve the coordination of federal education programs, to improve the management and efficiency of federal education activities, especially with respect to the processes, procedures, and administrative structures for the dispersion, giving out federal funds, as well as the reduction of unnecessary and duplicative burdens and constraints, including unnecessary paperwork on the recipients of federal funds. Lastly, to increase accountability of federal education programs to the president, the Congress, and the public. So the Department of Education is basically making sure that the funds get dispersed to all the way down from the federal level all the way down to the local level, getting the money for schooling, ensuring access for all kids K through 12. Let's read a little bit of history here, a little bit more history here, and then we'll move on. But I just wanted to give some background information as far as what the Department of Education is, and then I'll give some closing thoughts on this last point here. The department's history. Although the department is relatively newcomer among cabinet level agencies, its origins date back to 1867, when President Andrew Johnson signed legislation creating the first Department of Education. Its main purpose was to collect information and statistics about the nation's schools. However, due to concern that the department would exercise too much control over local schools, the new department was demoted to an Office of Education in 1868. Over the years, the office remained relatively small, operating under different titles and housed in various agencies, including the U.S. Department of the Interior and the former U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Beginning in the 1950s, political and social changes resulted in expanded federal funding for education. The successful launch of the Soviet Union's Sputnik in 1957 spurred nationwide concern that led to increased aid for the science education programs. This is what I was just referring to. This is why the Department of Education was at one point very useful. When we were combating Sputnik, the Soviet Union, and their space exploration in 1957, the Department of Education was able to unify the youth, unify students, unify the entire country, and move us in a direction which promoted and excelled in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, in an effort to compete with the Soviet Union. So this was a good thing. The 1960s saw even more expansion of federal education funding by President Lyndon B. Johnson. War on Poverty. He called for the creation of many programs to improve education for poor students at all levels, early childhood through post-secondary. This expansion continued in the 70s with national efforts to help racial minorities. This was to help black folks. In the 70s, come on now. Right after Lyndon B. Johnson, this during his war on poverty, this is to help black folks. Racial minorities, women, people with disabilities, and non-English speaking students. So that's the not racial minorities, black folks, and here not non-English speaking students, those are the immigrants, gain equal access in education. In October of 1979, Congress passed the Department of Education Organization Act. Created by combining offices from several federal agencies, the department began operations in May of 1980. In the 1860s, a budget of 15,000 and 4 employees handled education findings. By 1965, the Office of Education had more than 2,100 employees and a budget of $1.5 billion. As of mid-2010, the department has nearly 4,300 employees and a budget of about $60 billion. So we can see how much the Department of Education has grown. So going back to the agenda for 2025, when the Republicans plan on eliminating the Department of Education, I think that would be cause for concern if I found it realistic. Again, this isn't something that Donald Trump has endorsed. This is something that the Republicans are endorsing. I just don't see it getting passed. I just don't see it getting passed. Because again, when you say you want to end something, you have to replace it. If the Department of Education is gone, somebody still has to disperse those funds from the federal government to the schools. So just removing the department, that doesn't solve the problem. Right now, the Republicans, you can see, for example, down there in Florida, they're trying to get rid of some of these DEI practices, this quote unquote woke agenda. They're bastardizing the word woke. They're saying that there's a lot of damaging agendas in our school systems today, and I agree that these things should be corrected. Not these things should be corrected to a certain extent, but I just don't see the Department of Education being eliminated. I just don't see. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I just don't see it. But it's on. Okay. Let's see what else they have. All right. Use public taxpayer money for private religious schools. That sounds good. So that goes back to the Department of Education. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, each student, on behalf of each student, the U.S. government, federal government provides a certain amount of money to the school itself, to all public schools. What they're saying is instead of giving the money directly to the schools, the federal government will give the family, the household, that amount of money, that stipend. Instead of, let's say, $2,500 going, if my son goes to school, he's in the first grade. Instead of the federal government giving the school $2,500 because it's a public school, so that $2,500 going on behalf of that student, my son, instead of giving the school the $2,500, they give me the $2,500 and say, you send your school to whatever school you want to. And I can choose, take that $2,500 and use it to go to a Christian school or a Catholic school or a Hebrew school, whatever have you. That's fine. I support that. I don't think that's something to be afraid of. Teach Christian religious beliefs in public schools. I don't believe that that would happen because we have a separation of church and state. So that would be unconstitutional. Not going to happen. End free and discounted school lunch programs. Again, not going to happen. Unless, because these programs are too popular. The Congress members would not be able to go into go into their go to their constituents and say, "Hey, look at me! I'm a Republican. I just passed legislation to end your kids' free lunch." Get out of here! Get out of here! Doesn't matter. These are Republicans. Yeah, sure. Go to Louisiana. Go to Missouri. Go to the South. Go to the Bible Belt and tell these folks in these poor Republican states. Yeah, they're Republicans, sure, but they're still poor. You go to Louisiana, you go to Missouri, and you tell them we're ending your kids' free lunch. Good luck getting reelected. You can put this on your Project 2025 list all you want. The chances of it happening, the chances of it passing, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. You're telling me you're telling me you're going to go down in Georgia? You're going to go down to Georgia and you're going to end those kids free lunch? Yeah, okay. That's the quickest way to turn some purple states blue is to go in their kids free lunch. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right. In civil rights and DEI protections in government. All right, this is an interesting one. In civil rights, first of all, what civil rights are they referring to? They're going to end all civil rights? No. So I don't know what they mean by end civil rights. But let's say DEI protections in government. I'm going to go out on a controversial limb. Here, this is a black channel. I push reparations heavily. But one thing I don't really push and one thing I don't support is DEI. I don't support DEI. I don't support affirmative action. I believe that we should be responsible. We should get whatever job we're qualified to get. And if your employer is racist and they choose not to employ you, then you should start your own business. I'm a pusher of reparations because I believe what we do with the reparations is going to be done for self. I push reparations because I believe once we get the funds, we can pool our money and start our own conglomerates, start our own companies. We can compete. We can compete once our community has funds as a collective. But right now, our community as a collective, most households, the average black household has less than $5,000 liquid. Do you understand that's the average black household? And the average black household compared to the average white household has $100,000 deficit. So in the white community, these multiple households, millions of households, are able to pool their money collectively and start their own companies. When you see these companies being started in someone's garage, someone's basement, it's because they have the ability to not work and put all their energy and effort into nothing else but their business for 6 months, a year, 2 years to get the business off the ground. Because the households have enough money and savings to keep the folks, the workers, the initial startup afloat while the company is getting off the ground. In black communities, we don't have enough money to do that. We just don't have enough assets. We don't have enough liquid. We don't have enough money to sit down for 6 months and put all our energy and effort into one business. We've got to work a full-time job. Like myself, I'm a business owner, but I've got to work a full-time job as a contractor. I've got to take what little money I can from my household and invest it into the business. Take the few hours that I have in my evenings and in my mornings to come up with some effort, to come up with some content, to come up with energy to put forward towards the business. I can't just say, hey, I'm going to sit down for the next year and a half, 2 years, and all my bills are going to be paid for based on my family's savings account. We can't do that in the black community. That's why I'm a pusher of reparations. Give us the funds so that we are able to have some cushion, some leeway to invest in our own businesses, to invest in our own community, and do for self. But as far as these racial quotas, these DEI practices, these affirmative actions, I understand that affirmative action at one point was supposed to be beneficial. It was supposed to be, hey, these black folks just got out of slavery. We've been Jim Crowing them. We've been intentionally depriving them. What we're going to do here is this: we've been blocking black folks from getting into the workplace, into jobs that they do qualify and should get. They're overqualified, and we still haven't been giving them the jobs and positions based on nothing else but the color of skin. So hey, this is what we're going to do. If you've got a white guy and you've got a black guy, they both have the exact same resume. Everything else is the same. They're both qualified, equally qualified. They went to the same school, majored in the same degree, got the same grades. If everything else is equal and there's one job available, give it to the black guy. Because historically, you've been giving it to the white guy. The black guys have been getting beat up. If everything is equal, give it to the black guy. That's something that I can understand. But that has been moved away from equal, trying to help out the black folks, and it's been broadened to help everybody. You're helping all minorities, quote unquote, so people who just got off the boat from Europe, from right, from anywhere. You could be a white Hispanic. Your people descended from slave owners in Brazil, in Venezuela, in Honduras, in Mexico. You come over here, you're now getting affirmative action. You're now getting a job, not based on what the government has done trying to correct its wrongs of the past against you. No, you're just getting a job based off of diluting what should have been given to the black folks. So affirmative action was bastardized and diluted by including everyone else in it, by including the immigrants, by including women, not black women, but all women, so white women are included in affirmative action, by including anyone with a handicap and anyone who's gay and anyone who's, by including all these other groups, you've diluted the whole purpose, which was supposed to be corrective action for past harms. What was supposed to be corrective action to benefit us, specifically foundational Black Americans, it's been so diluted. I say do away with it completely. Do away with affirmative action. Do away with DEI. Give us reparations and let us compete on our own merits. Everyone, whether you're immigrant, gay, woman, handicap, whatever it is that you are, let us all compete on our own merit without these extra affirmative action, DEI protections. Forget all those other protections. Give us reparations and send us out to the wolves to sink or swim. So when they say they're going back to Project 2025, when they say they're going to end DEI protections in government, hey, give us reparations. Give us reparations first. You want to end it? Fine. You can end DEI. Just give us reparations first. Ban African American and gender studies in all levels of education. There's no way you can ban education. I know down there in Florida, that's what they're trying to do. I just don't see that being implemented on a national level. I think that's going to have to be left to the states. You can't pass federal legislation to stop someone from learning something that they're interested in. And you say at all levels, in all levels of education, meaning an adult, if I'm an adult, I'm a grown man, I'm 22, 23 years old, and I want to go to a private institution, a private university, a private college or university, I'm prevented from learning about the history of African Americans. I just don't see that getting implemented on a national level. But that's what I mean about, as far as this 2025 Project 2025 agenda is really just fear mongering, because a lot of these things I don't see it as being possible. It's not feasible. It's not feasible. I don't think it's realistic. Let's go to the next one. It says ban books and curriculum about slavery. Again, they're doing that now. They're doing that now. They're banning books now. Forget Project 2025. Under Joe Biden, certain states, e.g., Florida and Ron DeSantis, are banning books and curriculum about slavery. That is happening right now in Texas. In Texas, they're banning books and changing curriculum about slavery. That's happening now. I don't think that's going to be implemented on a national level in 2025, but that's happening now. Joe Biden's not doing anything to stop that from happening. Ending climate protections. Oh yeah, I believe that's going to get worse. Donald Trump, one of the first things he did was get us out of the Paris Climate Accords. So, and he's increased fracking. So yeah, Donald Trump and the Republicans are terrible with climate change. So I can 100% believe that he's going to end climate protections. I 100% believe he's going to increase Arctic drilling. 100% believe he's going to deregulate big business in the oil industry. Make sure y'all can see that. He's going to increase Arctic drilling. He's going to deregulate big business in the oil industry, which means for the short term, hey, gas is going to be cheap. It's going to be good for now, but that's one thing Donald Trump is actually getting wrong. What Donald Trump prides himself on is, hey, gas was so cheap because I opened up fracking and I opened up our oil production here. What he's wrong about is we're keeping that as our reserves. Donald Trump is trying to take credit. It's like you've got a savings account and a checkings account. The Democrats are spending out of their checking account, right? We're trying to use other people's oil and keep all of our oil in our savings account. Donald Trump is like, hey, we've got all this money in our savings account. Let's just spend that. Okay, now it seems like you've got more money because you're starting to spend your savings. But long term, you're going to want your savings. That's why they call it savings. The oil that Donald Trump is digging out of the ground, deregulating and fracking, that is oil, that is our strategic reserves. That is oil that we have been saving. That's in case of emergency. Oil is a finite resource. So Donald Trump is playing the short game with that, whereas the Democrats are playing the long game. And on that one, I gotta give it to the Democrats. Promote and expedite capital punishment. Yep, that totally sounds like something that Donald Trump would do. Um, and I'm against the capital punishment. So I believe they should get beat up and raped in prison for all the days of their life, depending on what they did. If you're over there touching kids and murdering babies and stuff like that, then yeah, some people need to be in prison forever, forever, ever, forever, ever. The capital punishment, I don't believe in capital punishment for no other reason than innocent people get killed. And if an innocent person can get killed, if it would save an innocent person's life, it's worth it to have everyone just live in prison. That just having it taking capital punishment off the table altogether could save an innocent person's life. Because if I was that innocent person, I would want to live. And if you're one of the people who quote unquote deserve to be killed, karma you'll get yours when you're in prison. You got life in prison, you'll get yours. In marriage equality, I guess they're talking about gay marriage. I'm a straight man, so that doesn't have anything to do with me. Condemn single mothers while promoting only traditional families. I don't know what that means, condemn family, single mothers. That doesn't sound like legislation. But it's something that, shoot, we do need to promote traditional families right now. Right now, we see the destruction of society, destruction of families. We see that as an all too common occurrence. So, hey, it doesn't really bother me. Defund the FBI and Homeland Security. Defund them. Hey, good. Forget that. Isn't that defund the police? Now they're using that as a fear tactic as Project 2025. First they said, "Hey, we're never going to defund the police," but now you're saying that the Republicans are going to defund the police. They're going to defund the FBI. Okay, when did that happen? Use the military to break up domestic protests. That happens now. There just haven't been any recent domestic protests, but let another one of us get, brutally murdered by the police. People are going to be back at the streets again. In birthright citizenship, never going to happen. We've got constitutional protections there. So in birthright citizenship, that's just unrealistic. Ban Muslims for entering the country. That's already been ruled unconstitutional. They tried that. Donald Trump tried the Muslim ban. Remember the Muslim ban from those 7 countries that Barack Obama flagged as high risk nations in the Middle East? Donald Trump tried to ban all Muslims from those 7 countries. His problem was he called it a Muslim ban. He should have called it high risk ban or something of that nature, terrorist ban. Should have just gave it a different name. But banning just people based on nothing but their religion, that's unconstitutional. So the ban Muslims from entering the country, not going to happen. Eliminate federal agencies like FDA, EPA, NOAA, and more. Like I just don't see any of this happening. You think they're going to get rid of the EPA, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration? You're telling me there's going to be no protections keeping your all these meat eaters in America. You're telling me there's not going to be any oversight or protection to make sure that people are feeding you steak and not pork liver. They can just put any type of dead flesh in a package and put any name on it, and there's not going to be any agency like the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. There's not going to be any Food and Drug Administration to ensure that the meat that you're eating is what they say it is. Yeah, right. Get the heck out of here. It's just not going to happen. And last one on this list is continue to pack the Supreme Court and lower courts with right-wing judges. Yep, that will likely happen. That will likely happen. So that's what we're seeing. This is Project 2025. This is the Project 2025 agenda. According to, the left wingers, they're trying to make this meme go viral. Some of them I think are legitimate concerns. Some of them I think would realistically be on the chopping block if and when the Republicans are reelected. And the reason I'm looking at this is because I think it's pretty much inevitable at this point. Donald Trump is going to get elected. Joe Biden has embarrassed himself internationally at this point. Everyone is calling for him to step down. He's refusing. He's doubled down, saying saying as long as he does his goodest, that's enough for him. He's saying he's not going to drop down. He's saying unless God comes down and tells him to step down, which God's not doing, he's going to run and he's going to be in it to the end. So unless he dies, he's saying he's going to be there. And truth be told, even if he's replaced, the reason he doesn't want to be replaced, the reason nobody wants to take Joe Biden's spot is because they're going to lose anyway. Like if Joe Biden steps down and Kamala Harris takes his spot as the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris would lose. To Donald Trump, Kamala Harris would lose. So would Gretchen Whitmer. So would Gavin Newsom. Whoever they put up against Donald Trump, it's too late in the game. And it's going to be seen as a last minute ditch effort. You're going to be trying to unify all these fractured people into a party, whereas the Democrats and the Republicans are united behind Trump. Donald Trump is going to win. And it would be career suicide for anyone to take that place of Joe Biden at this point. Truth be told, they need Joe Biden to stay in the race because he's going to lose anyway. But hey, if he loses, he goes down by himself. But if someone takes his place, then they forfeit their future. So chances of Joe Biden getting replaced, slim to none. Slim to none. So when Donald Trump gets elected, this Project 2025, that's what they're going to be looking at doing. Some of it is not realistic. Some of it is legitimate to concern. If you're a union worker, that's something to be concerned about. If you are uh, a student looking at the Department of Education, if you're concerned with climate change, there are some legitimate concerns. But the majority of it, like ending civil rights and complete abortion bans, complete ban on contraceptives, I think some of that is hyperbolic. But hey, that's just what I think. That's my initial reaction to seeing that list. All right, guys. As always, I'm going to play you a sickle cell PSA. We're getting through these videos, so I'll play this short clip, come back with some closing thoughts. Y'all check this out. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, then bada bing, bada boom. Gotta get something right for y'all. Okay, here we go. Y'all check this out.
I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, Doc. When drinking, I temporarily escape my sickle cell pain, but old problems in my body are flaring up. What gives?
Well, the short-lived relief and subsequent rebound effects of alcohol use can create a dependency cycle, and it worsens mental health.
Hold on, guys. I think that's the wrong video. 1 second, guys. One moment, please. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Give me one moment, guys. Uno momento, por favor. All right, here we go. Check this one out.
How you doing?
How are you?
I heard you had another episode. How are you doing?
Well, I mean, I did, but I'm all right. I'd be doing a lot better if these pork chops didn't take my whole paycheck. They're so
Girl.
expensive.
You need to stay away from all that. Meats like that support a healthy sickle cell diet, it includes poultry like
Sorry, just loading here, guys.
chicken and turkey, fish like catfish, salmon, and beef.
Wait, but my pork chops, they're what flavor my black eyed peas.
Girl, you can substitute smoked turkey legs for ham hocks with seasoning the veggies.
So what you're basically saying is that I have to cut out the pork chops, limit them. Well, what about steak? I can still eat steak, right?
Sure. Just make sure you get a lean cut, like tenderloin. Trim the fat, make sure you grill, bake, or even broil rather than fry it. You'll attain all the natural flavors.
Okay. Thanks.
Smoked turkey is a lean source of protein, which helps sickle cell people repair tissues and build new cells and help boost the immune system. Smoked turkey is also a good source of iron, which helps the body produce healthy red blood cells, improve energy levels, and reduce fatigue. Stay tuned next time to see what other golden nuggets can be learned.
Boom! Brr, 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 brr. Brr, 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 brr. All right, so that's going to be today's video. Hey guys, I was learning with y'all tonight. I was learning with y'all. Some of those things I had never read before, I'd never seen. So I was like, this was just my true first reaction after seeing some of the things on this list. Some of them I had heard before. Some of them are new to me. Tell me what you think. Is this Project 2025 something that we should be concerned about, or is it overblown hype? Leave it in the comments section. If you made it this far, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Support the channel, guys. I'm here talking about all different wide range of topics. News, politics, current events, hip-hop, sports, you name it, we got it. Large range of topics here. And we want to keep this thing going. Y'all hitting the thumbs up button. Y'all leaving your comments. Y'all really do motivate me to keep this thing going. Shout out again to Mitch Sledge for giving this this video idea. With that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.